Good afternoon and welcome to the CPOC, or the Capital Program Oversight Committee meeting for today. Opening the public comment period. Do we have anybody? Public comments.
We have one public speaker, public comment. Jason Pinero.
I can't wait.
Good afternoon, Joe. Nice to see you again. One question that you should answer to all of us. Are you going to be full-time or part-time? If it's part-time, the answer will be no. We'll need a person that's on board full-time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And that being said, I'm glad to have updates regarding CBTC. It's way overdue, especially on the Flushing line. That riding the 7 train, for those who don't ride it, the 7 train is like sardines in a can, especially on peak AM and PM rush hours. And second of all, Joe, you should look at the tracks, because your recent comments for me were totally disgraceful, and I've been doing a series of videos for almost 2 years now that the rest of your colleagues know about, that we should discuss it, because we need you on the field, Joe, if you're going to be the chairman. We don't need you in 2 places at once. That's what we don't need. We need you here, and especially having Ronnie Hankum as the executive director, because she has the experience, what it takes since New Jersey Transit. And that's all I have to say. I'll see you guys on Wednesday morning.
Thank you. Thank you. Any others? There are none. Okay, getting into the meeting. In our books or on our screens, we've had the minutes from the June 17th meeting. I'll move them, and then are there any edits or questions before we do that? None? Do I have motion to move it? Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Carries. The committee work plan. Don?
There are no changes in the work plan this month.
Okay.
No changes in the work plan.
No changes in the work plan. Okay. The New York City Transit Capital Program update. First, we're starting off with Robert Gomez on CBTC.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Gomez. I'm the Program Officer in Capital Program Management, and today I will brief you on the status of several CBTC projects in the Signals and Train Control Division. The Flushing CBTC project was awarded to Thales in June of 2010. This project overlays a new CBTC system on the Flushing line from Main Street to the new 34th Street Hudson Yards terminal, and also modernizes 2 interlockings, First Avenue and Times Square. This contract also equips 46 11-car trains with CBTC equipment. The CBTC Flushing project has had significant progress to date. I would like to share some of the milestones achieved to date.
Sir, could you go back one slide? Because there's some errors on that. I think a lot of people will be surprised to see that Main Street's not the last stop on there. You've got Main Street and Metz Willets Point reversed. And it's 52nd Street, Lincoln Avenue, not Lincoln Street. But the Main Street, Metz Willets Point thing is really bad.
Okay, we'll correct it.
On our printed version.
Oh, that's funny. Just want it on the record, that's all.
We'll take care of that. We've had some significant progress to date, and I would like to share some of those milestones with you. The Times Square interlocking has been installed, tested, and placed in service. A solid-state interlocking at First Avenue has been installed, tested, and placed in service. All wayside equipment along the line has been installed. The work completed also includes pulling over 1.3 million feet of cable, installing approximately 900 transponders from terminal to terminal, and installing 24 zone controllers. The project is 90% complete. Substantial completion is projected to fourth quarter of 2017. On the cost side, the current budget is at $595. Progress highlights since the last update. CBTC in-service started in February during the night hours from Main Street to 74th Street. And as of June, we are running daytime service during off-peak hours. CBTC equipment has been installed and completed on all 46 trains. This has been a tremendous effort by our in-house forces from the Corona shop. Our train operator training is ongoing. We've trained 293 operators to date. 6 key issues that were identified earlier during the testing were successfully corrected in May, and the software release since then has stabilized significantly. Hardware and software issues were recently identified and are under investigation. A short-term solution for the Communication Interface Unit, or CIU, hardware issue will install a fan in each unit, and a long-term solution to redesign the unit is being investigated by the supplier Thales. A software issue affecting communications on the car-borne equipment has been identified and is being investigated by Thales and the car manufacturer. This issue is currently being mitigated by resetting CBTC interface equipment. For the 6 months look ahead, we will continue training our operators. We'll continue monitoring software stability and CBTC testing from 74th Street to 34th Street Hudson Yards. As you can see, CBTC will be in full operation from Main Street to 74th Street by October of 17. But actually, by August, we'll be operating trains in CBTC in this area during day, night, and off-peak and peak hours. And between August and October, we will have a system monitoring period in which we will stress the system and monitor its stability. We recognize that it is an aggressive and challenging schedule, and in light of the hardware and software issues that we're having, but the goal is to seek and achieve system stability prior to the next section cutover. And thus, in CBTC in-service south of 74th Street will commence during October of 2017. And we'll also continue monitoring CBTC system stability throughout the whole line. And you can see from the sketch that we will be working our way towards 34th Street Hudson Yards. There are 3 critical areas that we're monitoring closely to maintain the current schedule. Providing full CBTC operation from Main Street to 74th Street, that's day, night, peak, and off-peak hours, and fully stress the system while doing so. And continue testing on the rest of the line to validate and verify safety aspects of the CBTC system to achieve the full cutover. As I mentioned earlier, 6 key corrections that were tested and corrected, and additional minor corrections will be included in the upcoming software release schedule for August. We'll continue monitoring the long-term solution to the hardware and software issues stated earlier. The project team has been working with internal departments, operations planning, and RTOs to secure the outages, which have been identified and secure for 2017. Software stability is the key milestone that we'll watch and monitor to decide when CBTC is ready to be deployed on the rest of the line. These 2 projects, the QUBL CBTC Design and Furnish, along with the installation project, they work together on the Queens Boulevard line to build a complete CBTC system. We're currently working with our suppliers and contractors for different ways to accelerate and reduce the contract durations of these projects. These 2 design, furnish, and design projects were awarded to Siemens and Thales in August of 2015. Under the contracts, CBTC will be deployed on the E, F, M, and R lines as shown on the map. This contract will provide 2 interoperable CBTC systems by these 2 suppliers, Siemens and Thales. A total of 309 R160 units will be equipped with car-borne CBTC equipment. The contract is at 30% and going well. The contract is on schedule and within budget. The progress has been made in completing preliminary site-specific CBTC design by both Siemens and Thales. An ATS prototyping that Siemens was responsible for is 90% complete. CBTC survey of the wayside commenced and is progressing well. Detailed design of car equipment repackaging by Thales is 65% complete. And interoperability and interface specifications has been finalized. In the next 6 months, delivery of the CBT equipment will begin. This will include the car-borne as well as radio equipment. We will complete the ATS prototyping. Detailed design of car equipment repackaging will be completed by Thales. CBTC factory integration testing will commence. An additional scope may be added to the ATS from the ISOM project, and appropriate funding will be provided as well. There are 2 areas that we'll be monitoring. All the trains need to be equipped by June of 2020 to maintain the overall CBTC cutover plan as per the existing schedule. All planned TA services should be available for installation, testing, and placing in service. A lot of coordination and planning is taking place with the car installation team and internal departments to ensure these 2 objectives are met. The next project, CBTC Queens Boulevard Line Installer. The project was awarded in December of 2016 to LK Comstock. Delays in award were due to the contractors requiring more time to finalize their bids. The project will install all the CBTC equipment except for the cars and support all CBTC testing and conventional signaling work under the line. On the budget side, the contract will be increased by $2 million under a budget mod. On the schedule, the project is going well and it's on schedule. Surveys are ongoing and transponder installation for the track data are ongoing. The CBTC equipment supplier interoperability contract was awarded to Mitsubishi in September of 2015. This contractor will use the CBTC integrated test facility that we have, including the culvert test track, to demonstrate to NYCT that their CBTC system meets our interoperability and interface specifications. Successful completion of this contract will increase our pool of qualified CBTC suppliers to 3. On the status, the project is within budget, but the last time we reported we were concerned about the schedule and we were reviewing it. At this time, the contract schedule has slipped 13 months due to the slow progress of the Mitsubishi. Many documents had to be resubmitted for approval, and a visit to their facility showed that they were falling behind on their development. 20 of 39 documents approved for the preliminary design so far. We are concerned about Mitsubishi's low level of achievement on the car-borne controller design and the zone controller design, as well as their projected reuse of software and compliance with I2S specifications. This may impact their ability to bid on upcoming CBTC projects. However, on June 20th, senior management from Mitsubishi Japan attended a meeting here in New York to show their commitment to the project. They presented a mitigation plan to maintain their revised schedule and to avoid any further delays to the project. They have hired additional engineers and have relocated engineers to the Pittsburgh facility so they can have a better integrated team. We feel that this will enhance their ability tremendously. We will closely monitor their progress in achieving the PDR that is scheduled for the end of the year. I will end my presentation here. The remaining projects in the presentation are for your information, and there are no major concerns with these projects, but I can answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Questions?
For CBTC to be implemented, I noticed, do you need solid-state interlocking technology at the interlockings in order to first, and then install CBTC over that?
So a solid-state interlocking is not a requirement.
Okay.
We were going to modernize 2 interlockings. One was modernized with the solid-state interlocking. And it basically because the space was not allocated, but the future projects do come with solid-state interlockings.
Okay. Okay, that's it.
Even though CBTC may be installed on the 7 line from Main Street to 74th Street, to get the beneficial effect of that, you really need it on the entire line, I would assume, because it's only a 3-track line and it becomes a 2-track line in places, and you're not going to be able to fit trains in one section and not in another. So you need the whole thing done, correct?
That's correct. It might help. It might help with the operation a little bit better. But yes, to gain the true benefit, you need terminal to terminal.
Thank you.
In the presentation that you're trying to achieve by the fourth quarter, at the end of this year, where's the reality in that with the software-related problems? Hardware's in. It's now down to software. What are the extent of these issues?
So currently, we ran into a car-borne communication issue between the cars. So we're trying to mitigate that. We are having the supplier meet with the car manufacturer and their subcontractor that manufactures the equipment. So once we feel that we have that under control, we believe that the software will be pretty stable and we'll be able to push it to the maximum. So that's why the 2 months that we're giving ourselves for August to October is critical for us.
Okay. The car-to-car communication, are we talking about on the same train, or cars in one train to another train and behind it or in front of it?
It's on the same train. So we couple 2 units. So one unit has to communicate to the rear unit, and there's some messaging that gets lost. So the train tends to run into error messages.
And where are they working on this? In Pittsburgh, you said?
No, this is in Toronto. This is the Thales facility is in Toronto.
Any further questions? Yes.
And maybe it's for the independent engineer or something else. We're installing CBTC on these lines. We're also maintaining the current wayside signal system. Is that's correct? That's our intention?
To a certain degree, we maintain the existing signals, and then we transition and we modernize where appropriate.
Do we? No. Oh, but we after we install CBTC and use it for a while, we're going to maintain the wayside signal system as a backup, or not?
No,
or not?
Only the interlockings.
Only at the interlockings.
Yes, because the interlockings need to be able to reroute trains.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you, Ira. Any other questions? Now the update from the independent engineer.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Nabil Ghali, and I will be presenting the IEC's report on the NYCT's Communication-Based Train Control Program. This afternoon, I will cover the Flushing Line CBTC project, Queens Boulevard Line CBTC Furnish and Install projects, as well as the CBTC Equipment Supplier Interoperability project. First, the Flushing CBTC project. With respect to schedule, the current project schedule reflects a December 2017 substantial completion date. However, the IAC is of the opinion that achieving substantial completion by December 2017 will be challenging. As far as the budget, as reported by the project team, additional funds were approved to support project needs through closeout activities. IEC observations. CBTC car equipment installations have progressed as planned and are no longer on the critical path. Extended system testing has impacted start of passenger service. Limited night passenger service operation with restrictions commenced in February 2017 between Main Street and 74th Street. The project team implemented a number of critical software changes in May and June, which did improve software stability. Additional software revisions are scheduled for testing this month and should take effect in August to further enhance the stability of the software. Day passenger service commenced in June. The IEC observed that it has been challenging to expand CBTC operation to full revenue service, including rush hours. One factor that has contributed to the limited day service is a combination of availability of revenue-ready trains and qualified train operators. One factor that contributed to the delay in starting revenue service was the testing or the validation and verification of the vital database. The project team captured lessons learned during testing phase and plans to apply them during the testing of the database south of 74th Street. This should streamline the testing in that section. With respect to IEC concerns, first, further software and hardware modifications are likely in order to address issues observed during various testing phases. This could have an impact on the schedule for full revenue service between Main Street and 74th Street. Also, additional software issues could be identified as passenger service expands to operate with full CBTC functionalities during rush hour service. In fact, these would be issues that would be identified as a result of stressing the system with full functionalities. Another concern was that during the last 6 months, the CBTC system experienced a high level of hardware failure in the communication interface unit. This has impacted the reliability of CBTC operation. The contractor attributed the failures to overheating of certain components and plans to use cooling fans to resolve this issue. The IEC is concerned that retrofitting all CIU elements with fans could impact project schedule. Further, the IEC is concerned that migrating CBTC operation to south of 74th Street will be more challenging. The reason is that there is no provision for interim operation using existing wayside signals. This means that a high level of software stability must be achieved prior to migrating CBTC to south of 74th Street. With respect to project risks, there are 3 main prerequisites to achieving full CBTC operation on the entire line. First, full revenue service operation should be achieved between Main Street and 74th Street. This milestone is currently planned for August. Second, the project team plans to monitor and assess CBTC system performance with the objective of demonstrating software stability by the end of September, early October. And third, once the software is stable, then migration of CBTC south of 74th Street can start. The IEC is of the opinion that due to the initial delays in system testing and the need to implement repeated software changes, achieving full CBTC operation on the entire line in the fourth quarter of 2017 will be challenging. The next project is the CBTC Queens Boulevard Line Design and Furnish contract. With respect to schedule, the overall project remains on schedule. However, certain intermediate activities have zero float. The IEC is concerned that any delay to design and or testing activities could have an impact on project schedule. With respect to the budget, and as reported by the project team, proposed changes to the automatic train supervision scope will require modification to project budget. QBL install contract. The IEC concurs that the project is on schedule. The contractor is progressing site surveys and system design documentation as planned. NYCT has been able to meet all track access requests. With respect to the budget, as reported by the project team, a $2 million budget modifications is required. CPTC equipment supplier interoperability project. Again, as reported by the project team, substantial completion is delayed by at least 13 months. The IEC concurred that this delay could impact the ability of the third CPTC equipment supplier to bid for future CPTC projects. With respect to the budget, there is no remaining contingency to fund future budget needs. This concludes the IEC briefing on the CPTC program, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for the independent engineering consultant?
When CBTC is up and running end-to-end on the Flushing line, are we talking an additional 3 or 4 trains per hour is likely?
Yes, about 3 trains an hour.
3 trains.
That's what
an
we
hour.
expect.
Thanks.
So we are currently at 27, at the peak, 27 trains per hour every 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes headway. We expect to get that to 33?
To 30.
To 30.
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you. Okay, next is a progress report on Sandy recovery and resiliency. Branko.
Good afternoon. My name is Branko Kleva. I'm the program officer for the Sandy Recovery and Resiliency Program, and I will be presenting the program update. Our last presentation to CPOC was in January of this year. The update will include program overview and status of 5 major projects, 2 of which were substantially completed this year, and the other 3 that are in an early stage of construction. As of June 30th this year, we have committed 90% of the Sandy repair funding allocated to the stations category, which is represented by the first bar on this chart. Majority of this commitment is for the South Ferry Station reconstruction project, which was completed recently. In the tunnels category, the second bar, we have committed over 95% of allocated funding. Of the 9 tunnels that were damaged by Sandy flooding, 3, Montague, Greenpoint, and Steinway, were completed. Another 3, Cranberry, 53rd, and Joralemon, are nearing completion in the next 2 months. 2, Clark and Canarsie, recently started construction, and 1, Rutgers Tunnel, remains to be awarded after the Canarsie Tunnel is completed. In the yards, terminals, and shops category, the third bar, we committed 23% of allocated funding. Most of the remaining funding will be committed in 2017 with the award of 148th Street and Coney Island yards. The 207th Street yard project was planned for award in 17, but will be awarded in 2018 to allow the resolution of utility impacts and budget issues. In the resiliency category, the 4th and biggest bar on this chart, 34% of funding has been committed to date. A significant part of the remaining funds will be committed in 2017 with the award of 2 yard projects, which include both repair and resiliency work, as well as other resiliency projects. This timetable shows that a great majority of Sandy recovery and resiliency projects have been awarded to date, and most of the remaining projects will be awarded in the next 2 years. In 2017, we plan to award 16 projects. So far, we awarded 4 of those projects. The South Ferry Station project was awarded for construction to Judd Law Contracting in November of 2014 with a duration of 31 months. The station was reopened for customer use on June 27th on time and within budget. 2 small business mentoring projects, which rehabilitate employee facilities at South Ferry Station, were also completed on time and within budget in September of last year. The projects replaced all damaged equipment, systems, and finishes, and installed resiliency measures such as flood doors to protect the station from future storms. Final acceptance of systems and punch list is ongoing. Here are a few examples showing the extent of flooding experienced at the South Ferry Station and the resiliency measures installed under the contract to protect the station from future flooding. Superstorm Sandy completely flooded the South Ferry Station with water from New York Harbor, destroying all systems and equipment, all of which were replaced under the subject contract. This includes elevators, escalators, ventilation systems, electronic distribution equipment, lighting, communication, signals, and track. Besides making these repairs, all street openings were made flood resistant. Station entrances were reconstructed to withstand the Storm 2 category, a Category 2 storm. Marine doors were installed at the entrances, and equipment and personnel hatches and manhole covers were also made watertight. A secondary measure of protection included increasing capacity of station pumping, installation marine doors at critical rooms such as the signal room. Also, connections for a power generator and controls for the pumping system were installed in the vent tower above the flood stage to allow station pumps to continue working should kind-of-distance service be lost during a flood event. Similarly, entrances at other subway stations in Lower Manhattan and elsewhere in the system that are within the flood zone of a Category 2 storm are receiving flood protection devices being installed at their separate resiliency projects. The Canarsie Tunnel project was awarded for construction on April 13 this year to Judlow TC Electric joint venture with a contract duration of 43 months and tunnel closure duration of 15 months, which is 3 months shorter than planned. The 15-month tunnel shutdown is scheduled to start in April of 2019 and end in July 2020. The construction contract agreement has penalties of $410,000 per day for delays to reopen the tunnel and incentives of $188,000 per day for early completion up to 60 days ahead of the contractual 15 months. Although the project was awarded 3 months later than planned, the delay did not affect the overall schedule or budget. The project is presently on schedule and on budget. The Canarsie Tunnel project encompasses work in the tubes and fan plant and in stations at either end of the tunnel. The work in the tunnel includes reconstruction of over 30,000 linear feet of duct banks, replacement of over 76 miles of various cables, reconstruction of over 14,000 feet of track, replacement of circuit breaker equipment, replacement of pumping equipment. It also includes construction of a new substation and a new circuit breaker house at 14th Street and Avenue B in Manhattan. 2 other independent projects to be constructed concurrently will each build an additional substation in Brooklyn, one at Maspeth Avenue and another at Harrison Place. Construction of these 2 new substations and the one being built under the Canarsie Tunnel project, plus the installation of a new composite third rail in the tunnel, will enable a 10% service increase on the Canarsie line. Work at First Avenue Station in Manhattan and Bedford Avenue Station in Brooklyn includes the installation of new stairways and elevators, making both stations ADA accessible. Project progress. The alternate service plan that will go into effect during the tunnel closure is being developed in coordination with New York City Department of Transportation and is expected to be finalized by the end of this year. A draft alternate service plan was presented to elected officials and local community boards last month. We will be going back to them with more detailed plan in the fall. As for construction progress, the contractor surveyed the tunnel during 2 weekend shutdowns in May and is in progress of mobilizing. He has performed exploratory test pits and soil borings and will start utility relocation that are in the way of the required excavations. Later this summer, the contractor will begin excavations for new stairways, elevator, and mezzanine extensions at Bedford Avenue Station in Brooklyn. Likewise, he will begin excavations near First Avenue Station for new entrances and debris removal shafts at 14th Street and Avenue A, as well as for new power substation and circuit breaker house at 14th Street and Avenue B in Manhattan. The Myrtle Line Viaduct and Bridge project is not a Sandy program project. However, it is tied to the Canarsie Tunnel projects since it is essential that the Myrtle Line project be completed prior to the Canarsie Tunnel shutdown to ensure reliability of the M-Line service, which will be receiving many of the rerouted customers when the Canarsie Tunnel is closed. The Myrtle Line project was awarded at the end of 2016 to Shivani Construction Company with a duration of 24 months. The project will replace 100-year-old viaduct and bridge structures which carry the M-Line trains. It will also build a car inspection and maintenance enclosure at the Fresh Pond Yard to service the train fleet that will operate as a shuttle during the last 8 months of the 10-month shutdown. The 10-month closure started as planned on July 1st, and the M-Line service will be fully restored in April of 2018, a year before the Canarsie Tunnel is scheduled to close. That is sufficient time to fit in service diversions required for preparatory work that needs to be completed on the Canarsie line before the tunnel is closed in April of 2019. The project is on schedule. Phase 1, which will replace the bridge and build the car inspection and maintenance enclosure, is well on its way and will be completed by September 1st of this year. Preparatory work for Phase 2 viaduct replacement is also underway, and the viaduct will be replaced by April of 2018. All real estate issues have been addressed. The St. George Terminal and Yard project was awarded to LK Comstock in September of 2014 and was completed in March of this year on schedule and within budget. This work included replacement of tracks, interlocking signals, and damaged equipment in the signal tower. As part of the resiliency effort, the signal relay rooms and battery room were built on a platform elevated above the flood stage to prevent them from flooding in the future. Also, the auxiliary signal relay room, which could not be raised, was constructed of reinforced concrete walls with flood-proof doors so that it can withstand a Category 2 storm. Clifton Shop is the main train maintenance facility for the Staten Island Railroad. It was severely damaged by Superstorm Sandy. The project to reconstruct this facility was awarded as a design-build project to Prismatic Development Corporation at the end of 2016 with a duration of 43 months. The new facility will be built to withstand future flooding up to a Category 2 hurricane. The design-build team will phase the work to allow the yard to remain in service during construction. The project is divided into 6 design packages, all of which will be completed by the end of this year. Construction of the first package, which includes abatement and demolition of the paint and diesel shops, will begin in September of this year. The project is on schedule and on budget. Coordination with operating and maintenance forces is working well. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Are there any questions? There being none, let's move on to the next IEC project review for, we have it all. The update on the track program. Thank you. Anthony.
No, Sandy.
Sandy. I'm missing it. Oh, yes, the update on Sandy, right. And then the ferry station. This is out of order.
Good afternoon.
No, go.
My name is Mohammed Mohammedinia, and I'll be doing the independent engineering review of the South Ferry Terminal Station Complex. The IEC concurs with the agency's presentation. The project was completed within budget. The project was completed on schedule and open to the public on June 27, 2017. In the opinion of the IEC, the New York City Transit staff did an outstanding job in the coordination between the construction group and the user groups to begin the project within budget, on schedule, while meeting the agency's quality requirements. This will be the last independent engineering review of the South Ferry Terminal Station project. Unless there are any questions, this concludes my presentation, and I would like to thank the agency staff for their cooperation. Thank you.
Only an outstanding work would be that short and complete. Thank you. Okay, Myrtle Avenue line, Mark.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Cosmetti, and I'll be giving the Myrtle Avenue and Viaduct and Bridge Replacement Project review. At approximately 30% complete, the project is within budget. There have been no significant additional work orders so far. The project is on schedule to be completed in time to not impact the closing of the Canarsie Tube for the L-Line Rehabilitation Project scheduled for April 2019. The IEC is monitoring several critical activities which could impact the schedule. One is the completion of the car inspection facility needed to maintain shuttle trains during the M-Line shutdown. In addition to erecting the building enclosure, there are several long lead items that are needed, such as electrical equipment and the car turntable and lift. Then the equipment has to pass testing and commissioning. Testing has started, will continue through the facility's opening. Prefabricated components for the viaduct and bridge are needed before demolition of the existing structures can proceed. Long lead signal equipment is required to reopen the New York and Atlantic Railroad Bridge by August 31st, 2017, and the viaduct by April 30th, 2018. Presently, all of the above items are on or close to schedule. The IEC continues to monitor the agency's management of the risks established at last year's risk assessment and mitigation workshops. The top remaining schedule risks include potential delays due to the availability of long lead items, as discussed on the previous slide, and with community issues such as complaints about noise, vibrations, and dust. As mentioned, procurement of the long lead items is progressing on or close to schedule. Noise and vibration monitors were installed, and thus far levels have not increased significantly over the normal levels. Also, there have been no complaints so far. The top budget risks are associated with increased temporary busing due to a potential delay in reopening the M-Line and with accidental damage to existing facilities or to the newly fabricated bridge and viaduct components. These risks are still active. However, once the project was awarded, many of these risks were transferred to the contractor. That concludes my report.
Questions? Andrew?
What is the location of the car inspection facility? Oh, at the yard. Okay, thanks.
Any further questions? There being none, let's move on to the IEC review for the Canarsie Tunnel rehab.
Good afternoon. My name is Cesar Silva. I will be presenting the IEC project review for the Canarsie Tunnel rehabilitation. The IEC reports the following regarding the project schedule and budget. The contract was awarded in April of 2017 and is currently within budget. There have been no significant additional work orders thus far. The IEC has reviewed the contractor's preliminary schedule and concludes the project is currently on schedule to begin the 15-month tunnel shutdown in April of 2017. The The IEC and the agency continue to monitor the risk generated from last year's risk assessment and mitigation workshops. The top potential schedule risks are the delays to the Myrtle Viaduct and the subcontractor staffing issues for critical CBTC work. IEC observations. A key predecessor activity to begin the tunnel shutdown is the completion of the Myrtle Viaduct project. That project is currently on schedule. This concludes the IEC response to the Canarsie Tunnel rehabilitation.
Are there any questions? There being none, if you can continue on with the Clifton Repair Shop review.
The following is the IEC project review for the design build of the Clifton shop. The IEC reports the following regarding the project schedule and budget. The contract is currently within budget and there have been no significant additional work orders thus far. The IEC has reviewed the contractor's preliminary schedule and concludes the project is currently on schedule. The IEC is tracking 2 milestones. Package 1, demolition phase, to commence September 2017 and to be completed by the end of this year. The second one is the remaining 5 of the 6 design packages to be completed by the end of this year. The IEC and the agency continue to monitor the risk generated from last year's risk assessment and mitigation workshops. The top potential schedule risks are any scope changes, operations and maintenance submittal review and approvals, and as-built submittal review and approval. IEC observations. As this project is design build, coordination meetings are ongoing and user groups are providing information on floor plans and the program validity study. 2 weeks of field testing will commence at the end of July to identify any underground obstructions. This concludes the IEC response to the Clifton shop.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Okay, let's move on to the next update, which is about the track program. Anthony?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anthony Ancillari. I am the Acting Chief Track Officer. Today I will be speaking about the New York City Transit Track and Switch Capital Program. In the early stages of the capital program, a huge investment was made to bring the mainline track and switches into a state of good repair. To accomplish this, we utilized in-house, experienced, knowledgeable personnel. These personnel were able to complete a significant amount of mainline track, yard tracks, yard switches, and also continuous welded rail. Today, presentation, I will address the 2015-19 Track and Switch Capital Program, the project selection process, challenges, and the strategies and new technologies. The 2015-19 Capital Mainline Track Program was budgeted as approximately $1.7 billion. The 2015-19 Capital Mainline Track and Switch Program goals are: the mainline track reconstruction was 51 miles. We completed to date 21 miles. Mainline switch reconstruction, 127 switches, completed to date 44. Yard tracks, the goal was 1.2 miles, completed 1.3 miles. Yard switches, the goal was 20, we completed 3. And continuous welded well initiative, the goal was 22 miles, we completed 17.9. 2017.
Yes. One second. Anthony, yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but sorry.
Okay.
I asked a similar question of Glenn Hayden at Metro North. When this comes up, and I don't sit in New York City Transit's committee, so I'm not. Maybe others know the details, but I don't know how many miles we have in total. So I don't know how many 51 is out of. I don't know how many 127 is out of, how many switches. So can you give us the denominator so I can understand how much of a program this is?
Well, total 655 miles is the New York City Transit system. Andrew, am I right? Okay.
What's the goal for this year?
But the goal for this year, goal is 51. It's 8%. Approximately on the welded. Can you back a chart? Go back one. am I right in thinking that about 50% of all of our underground rail is now continuous weld? Is that correct?
Close to it.
True?
Close to it.
Oh, close
Yes.
to it? Okay. So we need to look at that with, you know, in answer to the question, right?
Good. Okay.
More to come, folks.
2017 Capital Mainline Track and Switch Program. Our goals were for mainline track was 10 miles. We completed 3.7 miles. The mainline switch reconstruction was 27. We completed to date 6. Yard tracks, that was accomplished in 2016, and also the yard switches, we had a goal of 4. We haven't completed any yet. And the CWR initiative, we did not have a goal for 2017, but we've completed to date 2.7 miles of track. The next few slides will reflect some of the work that we have done at various locations. This is a diamond crossover at 9th Street. Next. And continuous welded rail that was installed in Greenpoint tubes. Sorry. The work we performed is based on project selection process. The project selection process consists of conditional survey priorities, which was every 4 years we do a condition survey of all our tracks and switches. However, this is also overlapped, therefore we do it every 2 years, based on which is being conducted right now. The track geometry car is continually based. It identifies rail defects, also profile and surfacing defects, and also component defects. The track geometry car, to cover the system wide, it takes approximately 16 weeks to complete a cycle. Then there's the track maintenance inspections, the field inspections, which are done bi-weekly, twice a week, and also there's a supervisory every 14 days. Track access, we coordinate work with planned right-of-way activities, maximize piggyback opportunities, which result in cost efficiencies and minimize customer inconveniences. However, to achieve our goals, we continue to address our challenges and explore various strategies and new technologies, such as the challenges we face coordinating with capital work and schedules, and also the work is labor-intensive. The strategies, we continue to use mechanized equipment such as the tie remover, installer, inserter, rail grinder, the robotic hammering machine, the TRT, track rail transposer, and the mini-meter, fast bike delivery system. The following slides depict some of the equipment mentioned above. The tie remover and inserter, this is utilized to remove and install ties in ballasted sections of track. Rail grinder, a new piece of equipment we're using currently. It restores and extends the existing rail life by removing rail surface defects. Robotic hammering machine, or the Brock. This machine does the work that at one time was done manually with chip outs and concrete. This is an efficient and also safer way to do work. The rail.
One second. Yes.
How frequently does a given section of New York City Transit's track system get all of these things on them, just out of curiosity?
Well,
yeah, hopefully not. Obviously, if there's no defects, there's no defects, but...
Say that again, excuse me?
No, I'm just responding to something my colleague said, but how often would a section of track see this kind of treatment?
It varies. It varies in the condition, the location. Some locations last 40, 50 years. It depends.
So the use of this equipment is based on inspections by a team, and then they'll say we need this or this.
Correct.
And how often is every section of track inspected currently?
Well, they use the track. They use the TGC car. which it cycles every 16 weeks. It covers the whole system. There's also the track inspectors who walk the track twice a week, identifying rail defects and all various defects along the line. And then there's also the supervisory, which is a 14-day inspection. And they're also inspecting the tracks and identifying defects, components, anything that needs to be addressed.
So did I hear you correctly that it sounds like every section of track is visually inspected twice a week?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. That's good.
Good. This is the TRT, also known as the Track Rail Transposer or the critter. In 2016, we leased 3 critters with the option to buy. We purchased 6 critters because of their benefits. Basically, this piece of machinery, it removes the rails, also installs the CWR, where at one point we had to use 22 to 25 employees. Now it's down to about 14 or 15 employees. And again, it's a safer and more efficient way of doing work. And we're utilizing the additional manpower to address the other rail defects that are along the line. The mini-meter, spike fast delivery system. It's used on large component type jobs. We utilize this machine. It's on a dolly. It has 2 5-gallon tanks of spike fast epoxy, and it enables us to go through the whole project, filling in all the gaps and the cracks of the ties, as opposed to utilizing cartridges. It's also an efficient way of doing work. These are some of the equipment that we have acquired to create efficiencies and ensure employee safety. We continue to explore innovations, consider more aggressive ways to do our work in order to maintain a state of good repair and maintain our employees' safety. That's my presentation. Thank you.
Okay. There are none on now the capital program status report. Ronnie Hakem.
Thank you. I'd like to present the commitment and completion performance highlights that appear in the book starting at page 75. In terms of commitments in 2017, the agencies plan to commit a total of $7.3 billion, including 51 major commitments that we track throughout the year. Through June, the MTA has made 21 of those major commitments. 8 major commitments are delayed but are still forecasted to be made through the year. Through June, agencies committed $2.2 billion versus a $4.8 billion year-to-date goal, but this shortfall is primarily due to delays of the R211 fleet contract, which is on schedule for September, and the new fare payment system procurement. By year-end, the MTA still forecasts meeting or exceeding its 2017 commitments goal. In terms of completions, in 2017, agencies plan a total of $5 billion in completions, including 34 major completions that we track throughout the year. Through June, we have achieved 13 of those major completions year to date. 6 major completions are delayed but are still expected to be achieved through this year. Through June, the agencies have completed $1.4 billion versus the $2.4 billion year to date. This shortfall is primarily due to the delays of Sandy projects, station projects, and East Side Access, but continue to think that we're going to forecast meeting or exceeding our completion goal. The MTA is also tracking delays from the 2014, 15, and 16 major commitments and completions, which appear now in a separate quarterly report, which are included in this agenda as well. And that completes my report.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have any questions? Do we have any other topics for discussion?
We do not.
I'll accept a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you all. See you on Wednesday.